Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, Bryce Simon joins me. We're going to talk at first a little bit about the NCAA Tournament's opening weekend from an NBA draft perspective. Then we're going to talk about some X factors for the upcoming NBA playoffs. But first, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What's this gonna be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie.
Step and
But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? How are you doing? Well, everybody else was enjoying UConn, Florida Day. I was getting squared up on by a mama cow that was not happy that I was trying to mess with her baby calf, and I literally jumped on the fence. Like, usually, like, these things are pretty tame. It's chill. Had me a little skittish today. So, yes, I am a grown man, almost 40 years old, jumping on the fence away from a mama cow that squared up on me this morning while everybody else was enjoying a fabulous college basketball game during March Madness.
Not a small human either. Like just coming in a shade over 6'6". Like
yeah, that's what I'm like. I'm sick. Sometimes I forget that. I'm like, man, I wonder if I get mugged. And I'm like, I'm 6'6", 220. I'm probably the last person walking the street that somebody would want to mug. Like, I'll probably like they would definitely take me if they wanted to, but it's like I think I look the part a little bit. I have the beard, bald, all of that. But yeah, I think it's because I'm tall. I think the cows dislike me because I'm tall, and I try to take my stocking cap off. Like, hey, maybe they don't like that, but she wasn't having it today.
Yeah, we gotta figure out your life, Bryce, because my goodness, you're just sitting here working with the cows.
Here's the funny thing. It's the most intriguing, boring life that people will ever encounter. Like I have a very, very boring life, but when people are like, you do this, you do that, you own this, what? And they're like, wow, this is intriguing. I'm like, yes, very boring, but kind of interesting, all of the different avenues. So including cows.
Oh my God. Bryce Off Court podcast for summer 2025.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about real quick, we'll go for like 20 minutes on this. We're not going to go crazy with it, is the NCAA tournament from an NBA draft perspective. And I think there were some interesting games this weekend. I thought by and large, it was like a little bit of a disappointing weekend in terms of the NCAA tournament, really up until today with the UConn and Florida game, which I know that you haven't watched because you were about to fight a cow, but that game was really fun. It was incredible. It was a great time. Connecticut, I thought honestly should have won that game. If I'm being completely transparent, I thought that, I actually really like both of those staffs and I think they both do a great job, but I think that Connecticut is just a really hard team to prep for on a, even though it was a week turnaround because they knew that they were going to get past Norfolk State. I think that is a very hard team to prep for, like even in a week turnaround, in all honesty, just because they run so many intricate offensive sets and it can be difficult to know exactly how to handle that. In Connecticut, particularly causes some problems with the way that Florida plays because Florida either will play the dual big style with Condon and Chinyelu, or they will put Hawk in the game and it'll go Hawk and a big, be it Chinyelu, Condon, whoever you want to go with, hand locked in for a minute there. It's an interesting kind of set of matchups. And I thought Connecticut pressed all of the right buttons. That staff, Danny Hurley, Luke Murray, Kamani Young, everyone there, they did an amazing job of pressing all of the right buttons. Particularly, I felt like getting Alex Condon when he was playing the 4 into space and making him guard intricate off-ball actions. That was a really, really eye-opening thing, I hope, for people who think Alex Condon maybe can play some 4 in the NBA. I would imagine that was kind of out the window for people, hopefully, after watching that, because, I mean, they just relentlessly attacked it when he was on the court and got open shot after open shot. And some of them didn't fall. Honestly, that's a big reason why I feel like Connecticut should have and could have won that game, is that like Solomon Ball goes 2 for 11. And I think that Liam McNeely goes 2 for 8 from 3. Like, if Connecticut gets even a reasonable shooting performance, I feel like they win that game. But, unfortunately, they just didn't make open shots. And Florida, better team, deserves to move forward. They've been a better team throughout the whole season. Walter Clayton takes over at the end. But, from an NBA perspective, A, Walter Clayton was fantastic. And B, I thought that this game was most eye-opening for me for Condon, insofar as, like, I do worry about him a little bit more being able to consistently communicate and work through actions defensively on the perimeter, something he will have to do in the NBA with regularity.
Yeah, Condon's a really interesting prospect in the upcoming class. I know some people, I get a lot of questions about him from a Pistons perspective, like looking for an extra big. Paul Reed's a free, like we don't have to get into the weeds there, but like early second round. Detroit has an early second round pick, and he's a name. I think that late first, early second round class of bigs is going to be fascinating. We've talked about the names with Ryan Cockbrenner, with Maxime Renault, with Alex Condon, those guys. It will be really interesting. I haven't watched this game, so I don't want to speak on it. I will say that it was something I was intrigued to watch, thinking about the Florida double big lineups. And then, okay, well, now one of those guys is going to have to guard Alex Caravan. And just like we talked about with Jeremiah Fears in the first round playing Connecticut, that they have actions to attack whatever they feel like. I'm not saying Condon's a bad defender at all. I think he's a good defender, especially when he's kind of playing as a 5. But having him chase Caravan around or Liam McNeely around could cause issues for him. Again, I haven't watched it yet, but it sounds like that did show up a little bit. I will say, like, to back up your point, just looking at box scores here, McNeely went 2 of 8 from 3. Caravan went 2 of 9 from 3. Solo Ball went 2 of 9 from 3 as well. So those guys go a combined 6 of 26 from the 3-point line, while Florida goes 9 of 19. And as you mentioned, Walter Clayton, he goes 5 of 8 himself.
Yeah, and look, like Walter Clayton is one of the 5 best players in college basketball right now and is fantastic. So sometimes better guys just going to beat you. Like, you can't expect Walter Clayton to not go crazy, because I thought they guarded him well and like guarded him tightly, and it just didn't work out in the way that you would hope if you're a Connecticut fan. But yeah, no, like Connecticut pushes every button. That staff is unbelievable at finding mismatches and finding little opportunities and relentlessly hammering them. And that is something that a lot of teams in college don't do. Like, I thought Florida was a little bit late to adjust in terms of going away from that 2 big lineup. Like, they were playing that lineup, even with like 10 minutes left in the game. And I was just like, guys, you can't do this. Like, this is not how this goes. And I thought Florida played like a little bit tight. It felt like they were a little bit, I don't want to say they played with fear and Connecticut played fearless, but it felt like a team who hadn't been there versus a team and a coaching staff that has been there and knows what they're doing in those moments. And, Florida's obviously the better team and deserved to win. And, real credit to them for fighting through all of that adversity throughout the game. I think they got down 6 or 8 points in the second half. And, I saw Danny Hurley said that, like, the refs cost them the game, because of course he did. I think that if the officials went one way or another, it probably was toward Florida a little bit. I think that Danny had like a little bit of a gripe, but just make your shots at the end of the day. Like, you had every opportunity to win the game and the shots just didn't fall, and is what it is.
I think from a Florida perspective, I've said this in postseason play for like even high school teams around here. Like, sometimes these are the best games if you're going to prepare to win, or to prepare you to win a national championship, right? And so, like, obviously if you lose, it's not good preparation because you're done. But if you find a way to win, it's like, okay, well, what about the next team that can cause these kind of matchup situations for us? Now we've seen it. What are our adjustments? How do we do something different? What are our answers for that? Okay, now we've played in this big game. We've made this comeback. Until you're in those moments as a coach and as a player, like, you can prepare as much as you want, but you just don't know until you get into that moment. And as we all know, tournament play, postseason play is just different no matter what. So overcoming this, beating a team with experience in these moments like Connecticut, especially the coaching staff, but even a player like Caravan and some of the other guys that did it last year, it's just huge for Florida. And I think if they do get all the way to the national championship, if they win it, something like that, my guess would be able to point to this game and say, hey, look at A, B, and C. They learned from that win and how they applied it for the next 4 games, if that is what they end up doing.
I think that's right. And the other guy that I think we need to mention from the weekend now, and we'll kind of bounce around here a little bit, is somebody that was actually in that West region. Bennett Sturts obviously just had like a monster weekend in terms of getting more notoriety.
Yeah.
We've talked about Sturts throughout the year as a guy like really worth tracking. He had, what was it, like 21-8 yesterday against Texas Tech, but honestly, I thought was like okay in that game. I didn't think like he blew the doors off of anything in that game. The game where I thought he was quite impressive actually was the first game against Missouri, where he had 21 and 4 assists and was incredibly efficient. I do want to have a conversation about Sturts because I think that people who saw him this weekend, like mostly for the first time, and people who like do the statistical analyses and things like that, probably look at him and are very, very high on him. And I understand why. Let's start with that. What is there to be excited about with Bennett Sturts? And actually, let's just start there. What is there to be excited about with Bennett Sturts?
I mean, I think when you watch him play, you watch him command an offense that has a lot of ball screens and stuff like that. So people are like, okay, he can work a ball screen. And obviously in the NBA, there are certain teams, a lot of teams that doing that is a huge part of the offense, right? So you see him do that. You see him command the offense. You see him process the floor, get the ball where it needs to go. The percentages are really good from Bennett Sturts across the board. He's 50% overall, 40% from three, 79% from the free throw line. Assist to turnover ratio is good, over 2 steals per game. So, like, I think that's what stands out to people. You watch this kid who always seems to be in control, and just running everything within the offense, and then also has some of that disruption on the defensive end. So I feel like the statistical profile and the queries and all of that like really stand out to people when they run those and look at those. And then even the eye test whenever you watch him play.
And then statistically, like there are 2 different ways you can look at it, right? So like the per game numbers averages like 19 points, and I'll look at it right here, 6 assists and 4 rebounds. Plays literally every minute of the game. Like he is averaging over 39 minutes per game this year. It's pretty wild how much he plays. But to counteract that in terms of the pace adjusted numbers, Drake also plays, if not the slowest pace in college basketball, maybe like the second slowest, third slowest, whatever it is. So I feel like there's like a pretty good balance of those, like to where if you just look at the per game numbers, they're probably pretty close in terms of like where he should be aligned. 2 factors here that I do want to bring up. First, Ben McCollum, I think, is genuinely one of the 10 best coaches in the country. I think Darren DeVries is like a really, really good coach, but like I think it's a little bit crazy that like Indiana didn't hire Ben McCollum. McCollum has been successful at literally every level from, D2, Northwest Missouri State, now up to Drake, and is just like this unbelievable coach who his attention to detail is incredible. He's an unbelievable defensive coach. And this scheme offensively, I think is really, really high level. The scheme is interesting insofar as you are right that Sturts does end up running a decent amount of ball screens, but I feel like the ball screen is never necessarily the primary objective of what they're getting to. So the ball screen ends up being like almost a little bit more of like a bailout to me at times.
Sure.
And it's just a very different offense than what Sturts will run in the NBA.
Sure.
And that often leads to moments where Sturts is asked, instead of like running ball screens, he's like attacking closeouts and processing and making decisions and doing all these quick things. And I really love that piece of what Sturts does. I think he is an incredible processor of the game in those moments. I will say that, like, particularly against Missouri, you will see if you watch him, like a lot of moments where his ball screen reads, I think, need a lot of work and can be at times predetermined. It's like there's a play where he's going down in a ball screen, like going downhill toward the right, and it's very clear he's predetermined that he's going to hit like either the shake or like the cross corner. I couldn't tell exactly where he was pointing the pass because he just like kind of got himself stuck in the air and then just like kind of had to throw it, and he threw it out of bounds, like in between, where the shake man would be and where the corner man would be. So I think that that's like a real piece of this for him, is that the processing when he's in the open court and like has these just quick decisions to make within the flow of a like basketball game are really good. The processing in ball screens, I still think needs quite a bit of work. The big thing that I see with him is that he struggles to maintain advantages in ball screens. And that in part is because he's not super strong, but also not very explosive right now. Like those two factors combined, I think caused him particularly a number of problems against Texas Tech, where he went, I think like 8 for 19 from the field and was actually pretty inefficient, I felt like, in that game. So you can see these flaws in these holes that like really need fixed, in my opinion, for him to like make that next jump to the NBA. Also, and this is something you and I texted about, like he really needs to just be willing to fire from three. Like, I don't know if he doesn't feel as much confidence like when there's a tight closeout or whatever it is, but like he's only taking like 4 threes a game. And I don't really get that.
I want to give the pace adjusted number. Like I just went per 100 possessions because I think people will go, well, you just said they're one of the slowest pacing. So Sturt's average just under 8 3-point attempts per 100 possessions. I'm just going to pull some names. I'm not comping Bennett Sturt's to these people directly. I just pulled some names. I pulled Cade Cunningham. I just wanted to see, right? 9 in his freshman year at Oklahoma State. Austin Reeves had 8, 10, 9, and then his last year actually went down to 7.
Jerome, because they played him a lot at point, and he had to like attack a lot for Oklahoma. It was an interesting deal.
Ty Jerome, who is a player that like I'm not saying they're 1-to-1, but I think they could end up like, I think that's an interesting outcome for him. 10.
Interesting as far as that was a very slow scheme as well, by the way.
Yes. And so he averaged just over 10 per 100 possession. More than anything, like I watched that game, and this is what I text you. There was probably 5 times and I know he took 19 shots. There were probably 5 times in that game where I yelled, shoot it, coming off a ball screen or off a catch or something. And then to back it up, my dad was actually there watching. The first thing my dad says to me is like, yeah, that kid's really, really good, but I actually felt like he should have been more selfish. And this is like 70-year-old old man, don't be selfish, share the ball, saying, no, I actually thought he should have shot more. So I don't know I don't know why. He is a good shooter. I do think the 3-point volume, I would like to see it more. I would have liked to see him be more willing. And I think it just makes him more dangerous because if he has that sort of range, that sort of volume, now the closeouts come harder, over the top of ball screens come more, like all of that stuff opens up even more for him off the dribble.
So, and this is why it's important to me, right? Particularly off the bounce more than anything. If you think like I do that he's going to struggle to maintain advantages, because the other thing that he doesn't really have yet is like a slow step game. And that's what differentiates like Ty Jerome from him right now. Like Ty Jerome, even at Virginia, had like a pretty nasty slow step game. Like I've seen people comp him to like Austin Reeves. Like Austin Reeves is like flexibility through his hips and like his ability to just like find little creases, I think is better than Sturt's is. And Austin Reeves is going to be like a max player on like a 25% max, like after next summer. So this is not to say that, you know, because he's not Austin Reeves, I don't think he's an NBA player, right? Like I absolutely think that Sturt's is going to play in the NBA, but I think that like where the developmental steps are for him are he has to find that slow step game, that ability to decelerate a little bit more consistently. He has to find the shooting, you know, willingness, like the just willingness to fire as much as anything. And then like, this is why this is important is, okay, if he's going to struggle to maintain advantages in ball screens because he's not super strong, not super explosive, doesn't really have that slow step game yet, then he's probably not quite an on-ball player. He's so good at attacking off of the ball that you probably like are a little bit okay with him being like an off-ball shooter, decision maker, driver, playmaker, right? But then like the defense comes into play, and I don't really think he's all that good defensively. Like I thought that the 2 teams that he played this weekend like should have been relentlessly attacking him, if only to tire him out more than anything. But I don't think he's terrible on defense, but he's not going to be like a difference maker on that end.
No, I I think he does a really good job staying square on the ball. Like he gives the
Yeah.
chest, he stays square. I think he'll navigate screens well, but like he's not going to be Dyson Daniels, right? Like he's not taking the 2 steals per game and then he's going to go in and lead the NBA in steals. I think he'll be a fine defender, especially as he adds strength and is able to hold that. I will say, like, I think he's an NBA player. I have him, I've moved him up my board throughout the season, all of that. The one thing I will say is I find myself like also kind of yelling at the TV, like to relocate off the ball. But again, I don't know if
he does not move off the ball. That's another big factor with him. And yes, I agree with what you're about to say.
I don't know if it's him or if McCollum is literally like, Bennett, this next possession, go stand in the corner, rest because I'm playing you 40 minutes tonight and I don't need you. Like
to me, it's not the ones where he's in the corner. It's the ones where he's like 35 feet away from the rim, like above the break.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said quarter. But every 8th possession, it's like, okay, this is a non-Bennett possession is what I feel like. Like they just like bake it in there. Every 8th possession, you're not going to touch the ball. Everybody else is going to do something. And his gravity's so strong, they essentially get to play 4-on-4 because his defender's not going to leave. I would assume that he processes the game well enough that if you do, and you're right, like I'm not saying take him off the ball, but that's an elite secondary decision maker to your point, right? Is
totally.
Like attack closeouts and then I get into the lane and now he's attacking an unsettled defense. That's like elite now. Like that's very plus in terms of the passing and those type of things. And I believe in his shot. It's not a lack of belief in his jumper. That's why I want him to shoot more. It's because I do think he can shoot it. It's just interesting at times. There's a little less aggressiveness to score for himself than what I personally would want to see, especially in some of those moments in the middle portion of a game.
Yeah. And look, like, the biggest thing here again is he plays 40 minutes. Like he doesn't leave the court. So like you don't want to run him off of crazy actions all the time. He's just going to get tired. Right. So that's kind of my theory on, okay, like maybe they're telling him not to move, right? They're not having him relocate, but he doesn't do it. And it's going to be a thing where he does have to learn to do it or at least like prove that he can do it. Maybe it's even like a more charitable way to put it for him. So there's a lot of reason to be excited about Bennett Sturts. I really like Bennett Sturts, and I have Bennett Sturts as like a top 45 guy in this class. And I am more than willing to like move him up into the top 30 if I talk to teams and they're like, no, he looked like incredible in our workout, right? Yeah. I'm a little bit skeptical on how he's going to look in workouts, to be honest with you, because that scheme is so specific. He is not super strong. Like there are real reasons to me to like worry about like those settings for him because it's just like a totally different vibe. So look, I think the most likely outcome for Bennett Sturts is that I haven't talked to Sturts. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on with him. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know. The most likely outcome for him is that he tests for the NBA draft. We see where it goes. Maybe he's a first round pick. Maybe he's not. If he's not, he just follows Ben McCollum to wherever Ben's going, which, the rumor is Iowa. We'll see if that ends up coming to fruition. But, but there are a number of other schools chasing McCollum. There's not a done deal with Iowa as far as I know. I don't know that for anything, but do not aggregate this. But, it seems like, Iowa is the, current going assumption. But like if I'm West Virginia, I'm chasing him. If I'm Xavier now, I'm definitely chasing him. Like there's no reason to not go after this guy in his scheme. He's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. What impressed me about Drake was like they had other dudes that got buckets as well, and their best shooter, Mascari, that might not be exactly, but he didn't shoot it well. Like he didn't even play his best. But it is like I read. There's a D2 coach in Kansas that had this long Facebook post. I actually sent it to you. I don't know if you saw it or not, but he had coached against McCollum in multiple NCAA or like Division II tournaments. And he talked about like what McCollum is great at in terms of controlling pace and coaching up his point guards. And he even talked about like his non-conference schedule, how like his team at Northwest Missouri, like he hasn't played an away non-conference game in like 7 years or something like that. Like it was a very interesting thing. If you guys can go find it, it's Craig Doty on Twitter. But yeah, I think he will end up at a high major school. And because of that, I think Sturts is in a win-win. Like, you either enter the draft, you go in and you show like, hey, I can break these guys down. I can hold up in, isolation defensive possessions. I shoot it really well. I'm a first-round pick. I think that's very, very possible for him. If you don't, you go with your coach to Iowa, Xavier, whatever, and then you show everything you just did in a Power 5 conference where nobody's questioning it anymore, right? Like, that's my other thing is he plays Missouri and he plays Texas Tech, and it's like, of course there's a little bit of a learning curve, right? Like, bigger, stronger athletes. I mean, I thought he handled it pretty well under the circumstance. I'm not trying to demean the Missouri Valley. It's just different.
No. Like, the best thing from Sturts that impressed me the most this weekend was that his heart rate never looks like it's above 50.
It's crazy. It's unreal. And I will say this, in the Missouri game, he chased Caleb Grill. And so, like, they run Grill off of, like, off-ball actions and stuff. So he's having, again, slower pace. I get it, but it's not like he's just standing with some dude in the corner every defensive possession. He's navigating off-ball screens and all of that. In the Missouri game, I thought offensively what I liked was, yes, he got switches, but he was able to attack those switches in isolation in that game. And like, we didn't get the Robinson one-on-one stuff as much as what we talked about leading up to it.
Yeah.
But
they had Perkins guard him. And honestly, like, I thought part of the reason we didn't get that is because I thought that those guys did a really good job denying him once he got rid of the ball. And they had to run like a ton of crazy off-ball stuff for Bennett.
You tweeted that out is again to McCollum's like, okay, well, I'm just going to run Iverson actions and get him the ball that way and then let him attack. And if they switch, then he has the advantage. So I think he deserves everything he's getting. Like, that was my thing was we've mentioned him. I don't tweet about guys a whole lot or whatever, a few guys here and there. I thought it was cool he got his stage, and I love when players take advantage of their stage. And especially in the Missouri game, there was portions of the Tech game, like, they were just kind of out, man. Like, they just couldn't do anything with Toppin or Williams.
They're out physical.
That's what I should say. Like, those guys were just physically different than what Drake had. But I thought Sturts really showed himself to the country and for people who may not have been following this thing all year long.
Yeah. I just want to rapid fire through some guys that I thought impressed a little bit. I loved what Tyrese Proctor did today against Baylor. He's just look, and I've liked Proctor all year. I've had him in the top 40 the entire year. He's just kind of hung out there, and he's a really impressive player to me. Like, he's shooting 40% from three on like 6 attempts per game now. He was up to 35% last season. If you look at his career, he's at 36% from three on 511 attempts now, not even including today's. Has made, I believe, now 40% from three on over 200 attempts, accounting for the game today. Really good passer, really good decision maker. Just doesn't have a ton of burst necessarily, but has a good frame that you believe is probably going to put on a little bit of weight, a little bit of strength going forward. That's kind of the difference between him and Sturts to me. Like, I actually buy Proctor's frame just like a little bit more than I buy Sturts's moving forward. But I think that Proctor has looked really, really impressive. And, you can very easily see, okay, this guy's a good, one-on-one defender. He knows where he's supposed to be as a team defender. He knocks down shots. Like, the guy I've been saying all year is like, it's a little bit reminiscent of Quentin Grimes when he was at Houston, had to adjust from being like more of an on-ball player when he got to Kansas, transferred, goes to Houston, becomes this like dynamic off-ball player who can really shoot the ball. It's kind of what Proctor has become for this Duke team. And I love it. Like, again, potential, late first round pick to me. He's in the same bucket as Sturts to me.
Yeah, it's interesting because whenever we have the like best shooters in the class, I don't know that we've mentioned him a whole lot. This dude is at 41% on almost 1,000 3-point attempts in his career. Like, that's big time shooting numbers for
Who?
Proctor.
No.
Sorry. That's his overall. What a catastrophic.
Yeah, you're looking at the overall. He's at 36 on 5 attempts per game.
On 500 attempts. What a mistake by me. I apologize. But 40% this year, and he's gotten better every single year. Man, that's really disappointing. Still, good numbers. Not as impressive as what I thought. My bad.
No, but really impressive. The growth, the trajectory is what's most important to me. He's been really, really good. I mean, like, we can bring up VJ Edgecombe. Like, VJ today, I thought was okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't wildly impressive. that team situation is difficult for him but like also he doesn't have a ton of on-ball skills, as we've said throughout this entire process. You know what I mean? Like that's not a new sentiment for us, I guess. Like we have concerns with the on-ball stuff.
What have you thought so far with Jaeger? Like, I know people are like kind of blowing up with like, cause he's made shots, you know, like he's
That's
hit
the
some
thing.
three.
Yeah.
And so like, I feel like he's the one right now where there's a lot of, oh, like, why did he drop so much on everybody's boards? Look at this, you know, type of stuff. And so I was just curious where you were at with it. If anything had changed based off these couple of games where he's, you know, he hit 3 of 7 and 2 of 6. So it's still 5 of 13 between those two games. Almost had the triple double against Wisconsin.
Yeah. I feel like he still can't get anywhere is my issue. Like he still can't get consistent paint touches, which is a worry. And that's despite playing in like a well-spaced offensive scheme that like really, really works with BYU. And the passing, look, I think he's the best passer in the class, point blank. I've been on that boat for quite a while now and maintain being on that boat. The passing I thought against Wisconsin last night was really high level. I thought that he showed all of the vision that you look for, all of the playmaking ability. Also didn't turn the ball over much, like was pretty consistent in that respect. That was the big thing with the first game against VCU. I actually thought he didn't play well against VCU. He just made like 3 threes in that game and it kind of buoyed what everything else looked like. He's been okay to me. Like, I don't think that he's changed much of what my thought is on him based off of his play. Like they're in the Sweet 16 because of the play of some of their other guys on their team. I don't think that it's because of what Jaeger is doing. Like Richie Saunders was unbelievable last night. And, you know, like I thought Mawat Mag was actually like really good on defense in that game. And, you know, Trevin Nell made shots and like they're a interesting team that is going to be loaded again next year for Debanza too.
It's the guy that I find myself liking more and more every time I watch him play, and was not high on coming into the year. And they haven't played their second game. They'll play actually here in about an hour from time of recording, is Carter Bryant at Arizona.
Yeah, agree.
And I know, like, you know, you were like, hey, that's a Thunder guy. Like, I think where he got to in our most recent mock, and I know this was just very recent, I don't know that he would make it that far for me. Like, I just watch him and I'm like,
agree.
Some athleticism, the defense. Like, I know I question like dropping the hips, but the more I watch, the more I think you're right in terms of he's physical enough, the shooting, the passing. He just continues to move up my board. And again, like, I try to be transparent. He was not a guy I was super excited about watching in high school coming in. You know, the other one too, I want to get your thoughts on Carter as well, but Drake Powell, you know, you took him at the end of the first in that mock.
Yeah.
I continue to find myself being more intrigued, especially with what he does defensively. And then you just look at some of the scoring, shooting stuff, and I'm like, okay, I could see teams go ahead and talking themselves into this, you know, even though that season for North Carolina in general was a little all over the place. So those are two freshman wing forwards that I came out of it like, all right, I'm starting to see this a little bit more than I was maybe throughout the middle portion of the season.
A couple of other names to talk about here. Dalen Swain had a big game against Illinois, but
yes,
like,
he did.
I will just note that like that came because Illinois was not guarding him, like specifically. The whole goal of their defensive scheme and structure in that game was to not guard Dalen Swain and to let basically let Dalen Swain beat them if anybody's going to beat them. He had like 27 points, but you know, it was nice that he took advantage of that. But I don't know that that didn't like blow my mind in terms of what he, you know, did in that game. He, to me, really interesting player. Like, I'm for it, but to me should probably again go back to school. Like, just doesn't have the shooting ability yet. To me, doesn't quite have the consistent ball handling skills. You see some impressive gathers from time to time when he really has space and like opportunity to get to his spots, but you know, I think needs to continue to work through his game a little bit more. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I think sometimes, just to clarify for people, like, he went 3 of 5 from 3 in that game. He was 4 of 23 the rest of the season. So like, I think sometimes, because there's some fans, and understandably so, they don't really get into this until March Madness.
Totally.
And it's like, well, why is this 6'7", 6'8" wing who can defend that makes threes not a first round pick? And it's like, well, that's an outlier, at least shooting game from Dalen Swain.
Right.
Now the free throw percentage for his career is good, which makes it more interesting. But I think I'm with you. Like, maybe you go test and see. As you mentioned earlier,
That's right.
that Xavier job is open. So who knows what that ends up and what that means for him in terms of there or somewhere else. I would assume I'm not saying he should portal or whatever. I'm saying if he did, I assume he would be highly coveted. He's a very interesting player. Like, I put him in the bucket, not the same, but like Billy Richmond and some of these other guys. I'm like, these guys are really interesting 2026 guys, depending on how they come back next year and improve their games.
Do you know where Dalen Swain is from?
I have looked at this book. Oh yes, of course.
Come to Ohio State, Dalen. Please come to Ohio State.
It's not fair. You can't do that.
Okay. So the other two guys that I wanted to note really quickly are the Illinois guys. Will Riley, I thought, played like his best game of the season.
Yep.
Against Xavier. He was awesome. He had like 24 points and consistently made all the right decisions, and then was like unplayable against Kentucky. So like literally, like they felt like they couldn't play him late in the game, like throughout the back half of the second half. So we got the perfect Will Riley experience.
Yep.
Like it was exactly what we could have hoped for.
So this is one of those that is the perfect microcosm of what his entire freshman season was. So where Swain's game was like, okay, this is a little bit outlier. What you saw from 2 games of Will Riley is exactly what 30 games or whatever of the regular season and conference tournament was as we watched Will Riley all year.
That's right. And then the last guy is Kasparis. I mean, Kasparis, I felt like did not play super well. Like the turnovers continue to be an issue. Yeah. I will be really interested to see what happens with his NBA stock throughout the pre-draft process. Definitely a first round pick. He will go in the top half of the first round for sure. Yeah, I'm not real sure what to think there with Kasparis yet.
Yeah, I've been huge on Kasparis, but I even found myself moving him down my board. Like I've kept him in the same tier I had him in, but it's just like what concerned me today, and I've kind of watched the defense all year. Like he really struggled to stay in. Like he got beat off the bounce by Kobe Brea, and like no disrespect to Kobe Brea, but like he's the one of the best 3-point shooters in the country, not necessarily known for his downhill driving ability. Even the broadcast was like, they're attacking him with this guy, they're attacking him with this guy, they're attacking him with that guy, and it's like it was a little bit worrisome, along with the turnovers. And like you brought this up a few weeks ago, like what do turnovers mean? Like what, and he had one today where it's like, you have to have the court map to know that that guy is there. Like, how do you not see that guy is in that spot coming across your face to steal the ball? And so the turnovers are something I've always mentioned. I'm probably gonna have to go back and like, how much am I really concerned? What all were these turnovers, and how much does that worry me with his projection to the next level? That's right. And then we should just talk about Brea real quick. Like, Brea was awesome in this game against Illinois. He had 23 and 6 rebounds. And I think he gets drafted is where I'm at. Like somebody I think is going to take the shot on the shooting and just see where it lands. Yeah, I mean, big time shooter, crazy track record through 2 seasons now, shot almost 50% last season. So with that shooting profile, you would imagine somebody takes a chance on it. And again, a big reason why I think somebody like Kobe Brea gets drafted is like all of these kids that we've talked about that are on the border, your Miles Birds, your Ian Jacksons, your Bennett Sturtzes, your Isaiah Evanses, your Dalen Swains, your Alex Condon, like all of these guys are going to get $1 million to play college basketball next year. And not all of them are going to get guaranteed deals to play. Like some of them would be on 2 ways if they all declared for the draft and entered. So you just don't take the risk at the end of the day. And I would guess that we see a significant number of players returning to school this year in order to capitalize on NIL this year and not take the risk of going through to the NBA draft. And for Brea, and these are confirmed 3-point attempts this time, over 700 attempts, 44% for his career. Just ridiculous. Totally insane. Final thing here. Danny Mack asked in the YouTube comments on the RJ Lewis benching over at St. John's. I thought it was completely fine. I'm not quite as high on RJ Lewis as other people are.
like I thought he was very clearly their third best player this year. I understand he won Big East Player of the Year, but like that was just to me like, highest scorer on the best team. I didn't really get it. Like any coach in that league I talked to was like would have, and I know that the coaches vote for that award for the most part. I think there's like a media component as well, but like for the most part, it's coaches. Like Kalkbrenner was the guy that they would bring up consistently as the best player in that league. You would get some Cam Jones, you get some Eric Dixon. Like it's just like he's not the best player in that league. Like I thought he was their third best player behind Kadari and Zubi Ejiofor. And like those two to me were their most important players this year. And I know the stats really back that up on Zubi, in part because they just didn't have like a backup option necessarily that was particularly impressive. So to me, I have no problem with them benching RJ Lewis. I thought that Pitino made probably the right call based on the fact that it felt like he was really pressing and it felt like he was really pushing the issue in his last couple of minutes on the court to where he was making bad decisions and kind of derailing the offense to me.
Yeah, and I will just say this. I tend to give coaches the benefit of the doubt sometimes because they just know more about their players than we do. And if he saw something in his body language and his psyche and, conversations or interactions, it's just like he's not going to be able to get out of this headspace where, like you say, he's missing shots, making bad decisions, forcing, then sometimes you have to make those. I'm not saying coaches always make the right decision. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that like Pitino probably knows better than anybody. Okay, we've seen this before. He's not going to be able to get out of this. The only thing we can do now is put somebody else in and hope for the best.
The final thing is like, we should just mention Cooper real quick, actually.
Yeah.
Cooper was great in these two games. Like, the first game like didn't really matter because like he didn't have to play a whole lot. I thought he was awesome against Baylor. He had like 18. He showed off like some serious like shot creation and like the versatility of being able to get to different areas of the court. Just a very, very impressive game from Cooper.
Yeah, still really good at basketball. Still the number one pick.
Yeah, I don't know if you knew this, Bryce, but Cooper Flagg, good at basketball and will continue to be good at basketball. Another thing that is good is actually our good friends over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. On PrizePicks, you can mix and match player projections from different sports, combine your favorite basketball players with players from baseball, hockey, and so much more. We love PrizePicks here at Game Theory because of how easy they make it to get that real money sports action. The second half of basketball season is here. The race to the playoffs is heating up, and the best place to cash in is over on PrizePicks. If you think LeBron James is going to get more than like 25 points now that he's back, if you think that Giannis is going to go crazy, if you think Steph with him coming back from the hip injury is going to go under his points, you cook up the hot takes with your friends and you win real money this basketball season over at PrizePicks. Download the app today and use the code Game Theory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use that code Game Theory to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Second sponsor today, shout out to our friends over at MITOPURE. I'm feeling stronger from my workouts, and most importantly, I feel like I have more energy and can recover quicker from my workouts thanks to MITOPURE. MITOPURE is a precise dose of the rare postbiotic urolithin A. It works by promoting an essential cellular cleanup process that clears out dysfunctional mitochondria, which are basically your cell's battery packs. MITOPURE is the only urolithin A supplement on the market clinically proven to target the effects of age-related cellular decline. Awaken the strength, power, and resilience already within you, and the first and only supplement clinically proven to rejuvenate your health at the cellular level with MITOPURE. Timeline is offering 10% off your order of MITOPURE today. Go to timeline.com/game theory. That's timeline.com/game theory for 10% off of your order of MITOPURE. Okay, Bryce, the second part of the episode today that we wanted to do, we want to talk about X factors in the NBA. and really like the X factors in the NBA that could impact the title race. I feel like that's the biggest thing here for the league. We're looking at the stretch run here of the NBA just to like kind of reset it. The Cavs and Celtics are drastically ahead of everybody in the East. The Cavs have not yet locked down the number 1 seed in the East. They've actually lost they've lost 4 of their last 10, which is, one of their worst runs of the season, bizarrely. And the Cavs or the Celtics are on fire. They've won like 9 of their last 10. So they've been able to close this distance just like a little bit to where it's a 5-game run with 10 games to go. Obviously, like by the end of this week, that could stretch out to where it's over. But they look like they're in the driver's seat here. You look at the 3 seed, the Knicks, they are 7 games behind the Celtics, 3 games ahead of the Pacers. They're probably pretty locked in at the 3. 4, 5, and 6 in the East, basically locked in. The Pacers and Bucks and Pistons are all within 2 games of one another. Somewhere between 10 and 12 games to go for each of those teams. Pacers 4th, Bucks 5th, Pistons 6th. And then that race for the play-in tournament is basically over now. The Heat look like they're going to get the 10. The Bulls look like they're going to get the 9. That could flip at some point. It's possible Miami could end up getting the 9. But, Orlando is sitting there at 8th. The Atlanta Hawks at 7th. The Raptors are all the way like 6 games out of the play-in picture now. And the Miami Heat, by the way, are 30 and 41 and are going to be the 10 seed in the East. In the West, you're looking at the Thunder just way ahead. I don't think they have officially clinched home court. If they haven't, they're like within a day of clinching home court. Like it's going, if they haven't done it now, like it's coming here momentarily. And
No,
they have also,
NBA.com has the clinched Western Conference. So yeah.
Okay, great. So they're now 1.5 games ahead of the Cavs as well for overall home court advantage. Then this race for second between the Rockets, Nuggets, and Lakers, and the Grizzlies as well, has gotten like a little bit of kind of leeway, it feels like, where the Rockets, because they've won, I think 9 in a row now, because their schedule has like really eased up for a minute. They are in like a pretty good position here. They are 2 games up on Denver, but they are currently playing Denver, and Denver is beating them in Houston right now. They're up 16 in the like near the end of the third quarter. So that's going to get down to a 1 game lead basically. They're in the Western Conference for the 2 seed. And then the Lakers, we'll see what they're able to do. They're finally getting healthy again, it feels like. Their schedule, I think, kind of gets a little bit more challenging because they have 4 straight road games here. And then I think they also have a stretch of like 4 out of 5 on the road at the end of the season as well. So, I don't know that they're going to be able to jump the Rockets. I think I feel pretty good about the Rockets now staying probably in the top 3 at least. Whereas before I was like a little bit worried that they were going to fall all the way down to like 5 or 6. I think that they've just done their business and done their work so well here against these bad teams. Like they've swept the Pelicans, they beat the Suns, they destroyed the Mavs, they beat the Bulls, which by the way, the Lakers could not do last night. So like full credit to the Lakers to the Rockets for taking care of business there. They did take like a weird overtime win against Philadelphia, and I thought their game on Friday against Miami was like fairly unimpressive in that win too. But you win games. That's what matters here coming down the stretch. And if they're able to hold on to a top 3 seed, if they could get the 2, it would be massive because they would get 2 home court series. But we will see if they're able to kind of maintain that over Denver, given that I think Houston's schedule here down the stretch also heats up. They have Denver, a pretty hot Atlanta team, a bunch of road games here against Utah, Phoenix, and the Lakers. Then they get Utah and Oklahoma City at home. Then to close the season, they have Golden State, Clippers, Lakers on the road, and then a final game versus Denver at home again on the 13th. That could be for the 2nd seed. So I would imagine that Denver would actually play that out. And I'm certain Houston would, because that's kind of what they do. But interesting situation there at the top of the conferences. You look at the Western Conference like play-in picture as well. The Warriors are without, Steph, I think, is just coming back tonight, it feels like, or, tomorrow or something with this hip injury. But then you have the Clippers and Timberwolves right on their heels, and the Warriors really desperately need to win games in order to stay ahead. It's going to be interesting to see if they can do that.
Yeah, that is interesting in the West because you kind of outline 2 through 5 where there's a little bit, and then you have 6 through 8 where you have the Warriors, Clippers, Wolves, and then you get to 9 through 11 where Kings, Suns, Mavericks. I mean, I guess you maybe could still add the Blazers in there. I think they kind of missed their chance potentially, but you have a few different pockets there in the West. One of them is going to keep a team out of the postseason in general. And then, the Warriors, Clippers, Wolves, one of those teams is going to get into the playoffs while the other two have to play for the play-in. So just really kind of fascinating to see the different pockets that have, materialized in each conference.
Yeah, the Blazers probably did miss their window. If you made me bet, they probably had to beat Detroit earlier this month in that tough game that they played. But I mean, they just had a monster schedule here. Their schedule was very easy in that run where they racked up a bunch of wins to get back to 23 and 29. And then, they beat Toronto, Washington, Memphis, and Denver, by the way, on Friday, which was a good win. But the rest of their schedule is Boston, Cleveland, and then road games against Sacramento, Knicks, Hawks, Toronto, Bulls. And then they have San Antonio, Utah. That window where they play Toronto, Chicago, San Antonio, Utah, they probably have to win all of those games, I would say, and then try to strategically pick off, the Sacramento game this Thursday is massive for this. If they can win the Sacramento game,
Yeah,
they'll at least be in with a shot. But they're far enough back now at 2.5 games back, and they're 3.5 games back of the Kings to where I think it's probably going to be tough for them. So, yeah, I think we're looking at, in all likelihood, the Kings, Suns, and Dallas fighting for 2 out of 3 spots, unless things go, haywire here.
Yeah, I think I agree. Again, we talked about the Blazers on a recent episode and kind of the season they have and kind of the excitement with some of their young players. Denny continues to be awesome, but it seems like maybe they got a little bit, but they got to push it. I mean, that's kind of true for everybody, right? We're down to all of a sudden 10, 11 games, 12 games, I think maybe is the most. I think everybody looks like they've played at least 70. We're down to it, a few weeks left in this thing, and then we get the play in and then the playoffs start. So it kind of sneaks up on you post All-Star break, post trade deadline. You get a little bit sidetracked and distracted by March Madness for, this whole week. And all of a sudden you look up and there's 10 games left in the season.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the X factors here.
Okay.
So the way we're going to do this is we're going to talk team by team, right? And try to talk through what will be able to push them to a title run. That's the goal here. What will be able to take these teams from where they are now, which is, a great regular season team or a team that has acquired some pieces at the deadline, like the Lakers or Warriors, and push them to a title contention window here in the playoffs once we start getting these actual matchups in 7-game series. And I think where we have to start is Oklahoma City. They are now the best team in the league officially. I think for Oklahoma City, where I kind of came down on it was where they get their secondary creation just night after night. And the thing is that they have a number of different options from where it can come from. It's just that they need it to come every night, they need it to happen for them every night. And I would think that they'll find it. It's just that's the big question for me.
It's funny. That was the exact phrase I had as well, was the secondary creation, the non-SGA minutes, who is creating offense, who is attacking, who has the ball in their hands, how efficient are they in those minutes? I mean, it's kind of funny to have this question whenever they're still the, top 5, in offensive rating, but it is one of those things that you can find yourself, when you nitpick, and that's what you have to do whenever we're talking about winning a championship, is what is the thing that maybe can deter that. And I think if we're sitting here, a few months from now and like, why did Oklahoma City not win the title? I don't think it's because they weren't good enough defensively. I don't think that's going to be the answer. They have too many good defenders, in my opinion, for that to be the answer. Obviously, injury would be, another factor. I think it's going to be J-Dub and or Chet and or, whoever weren't able to generate enough offense in the non-SGA minutes or off of SGA whenever teams are put 2 on the ball and say, hey, we're not letting him go for 38 tonight. Somebody else is going to beat us. I think they have the guys that can do it, to your point, but if there's somewhere where you can look, it could be that.
Yeah, and look, like Chet's missed like a few games here and there recently. Like it's hard to tell if it's like rest for the hip or whatever it is. But I'll be interested just to see kind of what he looks like in the playoffs in terms of being able to like handle something of like a mismatch creation offensive load. You know what I mean? Like that feels like a big question in the 12 games he's played since like his first 2 games back, where it felt like they were really kind of easing him in. He's averaged 15 points, 8.5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks, and shot 51, 36, 68. It feels like the shot and like the overall ability to like get to the, like to just get to his spots is still just not quite there yet. So I think he will be useful in the playoffs, just as like a great, 4 or 5 hybrid who can defend and who can make shots. I'll be interested to see like where the ability to get to his spots as a shooter and like shot creator kind of lands in the playoffs when things get even more physical and like refs allow even more bumping against like each other. Like that's going to be really tricky to me. I think J-Dub's been really good recently, actually. So like that really helps kind of ease the like burden a little bit of where this could land. And I think him having that experience in the playoffs last year will be really critical. Like, is it going to be like Aaron Wiggins? Is it going to be a like Cason Wallace? Is it going to be somebody else? Since Aaron Wiggins had that 41-point game back on February 1st. So these numbers are the last 23 games Aaron Wiggins has played. He's averaging 16 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting 50, 43, 82. So like Wiggins has been fantastic, and it could just be Aaron Wiggins is now like this incredibly awesome player who is on. I mean, like when we do best contracts in the league, like Aaron Wiggins is going to be on that, like almost certainly for me. So like he is in this incredible position where he's going to potentially really get to thrive in key playoff matchups. And it's going to be interesting to me.
That would be my other thing. I'll bring this up with another team when we talk about them potentially next, but is also just the lineup decisions. And I mean, I think you trust Mark Daigneault to make the right decisions, but they do have a lot of players, right? And yeah, SGA is going to be there. J-Dub's going to be there. Dort. But okay, how much do we play the iHeart and Chet lineup together? How much do we go to Jalen Williams? How much do we go to Isaiah Joe? Like those decisions. It's great to have all of these options, but as I always say, you have to push the right buttons at the right time. So you would much rather have all of these lineup versatility and constructions. Absolutely. I'm not saying this is a negative. I'm just saying that when you have those, you have to choose the right ones. You can't get down a rabbit hole of trying to force the Chet iHeart minutes to work and it's not working. You're like, well, we paid him 35 million, whatever. And so we have to play him together. I don't think that will happen. I'm just saying that could be something if you get stuck in a certain way and it's the wrong lineup, or it's the Aaron Wiggins over this guy or Caruso over that guy. I just looked up, and that's another thing. Hartenstein and Holmgren have only played 13 games together, a total of 200 minutes. Now, the net rating on that is 14, so it's been really good in those 200 minutes, but it's like we haven't quite got the amount of minutes that maybe you would want between those two guys being on the floor together. Doesn't mean it won't be successful, just saying I would want a bigger sample size of that just to kind of figure things out with those two guys out there.
No, I think that's the Chet and Hartenstein minutes are a really, really critical thing because, like, who do most people think is the biggest question mark for the Oklahoma City Thunder to get past? It's probably Denver, right?
Yeah, sure.
Just because of the Jokic experience. I mean, that's the lineup that you play in order to counteract Jokic. You have Hartenstein be able to like body him up, and then you have Chet come over and help. And Hartenstein and Chet, do you know how many minutes they've played together on the court this season?
NBA, 204.
Yeah, 204 is the number, and they've obliterated those minutes. Like they've won by 14 points per 100, and they score 129 points per 100 possessions, right? Like they're great. But yeah, like I think that getting more reps with that would be really valuable to me. It'd be really, really good.
Yep. And so like I always just, again, we'll talk about this with the Cavs, to be honest, like I'll spoil it, but I love having versatility. You just have to make the right decisions when you have that lineup versatility. But again, we're nitpicking a team because they're awesome, but you're talking about winning a title.
Yep. Yeah, no. And like to me, you need more than J-Dub on offense. Like I actually feel good about J-Dub as the second option for a team like this. Like when you have Shea, J-Dub as the second option is going to be fine, especially if he plays the way he's played over the last 2 months. It's more like you need more than two to get you there in the playoffs. Like I know that Denver did it with Jokic and Murray, but even then they still had other guys like really contributing, and it's who's going to contribute on a night-to-night basis if Chet is good, not great necessarily on offense.
Sure.
Okay. Do you want to stay in the West, or do you want to go over? Do you want to knock out the three best teams?
Like my OCD says I want to stay in the West, but I'm cool if we do whatever you want to do. It's your podcast.
Let's knock out the three best teams.
Okay.
Just to fuck with you.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Let's go with the Cavs.
Okay.
The Cavs, for me, like really great team, obviously, have been incredible throughout the course of the season. To me, it's like, are they going to be able to like just maintain momentum on some level? Like they beat the Jazz last night, but before that, they've lost their previous 4 games against the Magic, Clippers, Kings, and Suns. And that's not really like an X factor necessarily, right? Like that's just not the way that works in any way, shape, or form. But I do think like there is like a peaking too early kind of vibe. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And like what will stop them from peaking too early is my question. And this is why I actually really like the idea of them going out and getting DeAndre Hunter, because it gives you like just enough of a change up while you're great to give you something to strive toward in terms of like integrating him and knowing that by integrating him, we have a lot more lineup flexibility. We have a lot more versatility. We have a lot more ability to get to different matchups that make us potentially great against Boston or New York or Oklahoma City, right? So I like that like slight change up that they made. To me, it's, consistently integrating DeAndre Hunter in ways that allow them to keep, winning basketball games at a super high level. And it's, now that you've moved Karis LeVert, can Ty Jerome be your secondary offensive creator off the bench consistently? And frankly, this is now like the big question for me. This is a team that has gotten by with depth throughout like a majority of the year. In the playoffs, when rotations shrink and you're consistently playing your starters 38, 39, 40 minutes, are they able to maintain that advantage consistently? That's also like a real question to me as well. And oh, by the way, what can their half court offense consistently be in conjunction with the half court defense when teams are attacking Garland a little bit more regularly? Like there are just a few more things here. They're all like very slight questions to me, but they are like real factors that they have to figure out.
First, I agree with you in terms of integrating somebody from the outside. I think chaos and trading LeVert and Yang for Hunter isn't chaos in the sense that like people would think, but just changing things up. Like it is good. It is good for a team, especially in over an 82 game regular season, especially with a team that returned the core from the year before. I think it is good to just change things up, keep people on their toes a little bit. I am 100% with you though, Sam. Like I've said this for a while now. Kenny Atkinson is an incredible coach. He's shown it this year. He's going to be coach of the year. He deserves to be coach of the year. I love that they have the versatility of these options. Can you push the right buttons? When you get in, okay, so here's my other thing. They consistently play the combinations of the guards in the front court, right? Well, if they're all going to play 40 minutes a night, you're not playing those combinations anymore. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those 4 guys on the floor. It's just like now it's going to be more consistently. The rotations are going to change. Who is the 5th guy? How does that work? How good is Ty Jerome if he's getting less minutes per night than what he's getting right now? Again, it's nitpicky. I'm not saying it's going to be an issue, but it will be interesting. How well do guys shoot, Sam, when they're playing 8 minutes, 2 4-minute rotations as opposed to 2 8-minute or 6-minute rotations? Because right now, they're the best three-point shooting team in the NBA with countless guys over 40% or right at it, including some guys off the bench. Can they also knock down those shots when those rotations are a little bit less? And then I will just say this. I watched the Clippers game the other night, and it wasn't the James Harden highlight that everybody wants to talk about that made me. It was Zubac just destroying them in the paint. And I had like these nightmare flashbacks of what we saw last year in the playoffs. I'm like, are those two going to get worked in the paint again this year by somebody? I don't think so. But it just all of a sudden brought back flashbacks of that Knicks series. And I'm like, this isn't going to happen, right? Like it can't happen again, but Zubac did it to him, and it was a regular season game, but it just made
Mitch
me
did
wonder.
it 2 years ago as well. Like,
Yeah,
it's
that's what I meant.
You know.
Yeah, 2 years ago with Mitch. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. So, do you know what the Cavs are shooting from 3 since the trade deadline?
I would guess it probably is even better because Hunter's like at 50%, over 40% as a team.
36% from 3 since the deadline.
Wow. So that means everybody else has really regressed because he's at 49% himself.
Yeah. And, you know, part of this is just like shooting stretches.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just small shooting stretches. You know, we're talking about a month sample, month and a half now. These things happen. Like I'm not sitting here saying that like they're a worse shooting team than what they were early in the season, but it's going to be interesting to see if they're able to continue to hold up like shooting when so much of what they have been reliant upon is that shooting, that ability to fire from distance and knock down shots and consistently, you know, get to the, you know, get paint touches and then kickouts and then rely on those guys to knock down those kickouts. And oh, by the way, like DeAndre Hunter knocks down shots, not like the quickest reversal guy either. So, you know, that can be a change in terms of tempo that you're playing at. It is interesting that they are now shooting 36% from 3 in that run. And oh, by the way, like basically hasn't mattered. Like they're 16-4 in that run. They were the 3rd best team in the league since that run behind Oklahoma City and Boston. Right. So it hasn't really affected it that much, but you know, like, again, like we're grading them on that standard now because of how good they have been this year. They have earned the right to be graded on that standard. And the little things matter here, especially when you're running out lineups where like the Mitchell Garland thing, like isn't even an X factor to me. Like that's just like, this is the big thing that they have to figure out. Like, can they consistently beat Boston with both those guys on the court when Boston is going to relentlessly attack Garland?
It's funny. So I pulled it up post All-Star break, just 3-point percentage for their team. The role guys, quote unquote, are still shooting it well. Jerome's over 40. Strus is right under 40. Dean Wade's at 38. Merrill's at 37 on volume. You know who's bringing it down? Mitchell and Garland. Donovan Mitchell is at 27% on 8 attempts post All-Star break in 14 games. And Darius Garland's at 31% on 7.5 attempts in 14 games post All-Star break. So it's actually those two guys that are bringing it down right now here post All-Star break, which I don't think either of you or I think that that's going to be the trend come playoffs. So just a weird, it is 14 games. Like that's not a nothing stretch, but
Yeah.
it is kind of funny looking at that it's actually those two guys that have struggled from three.
Okay. We'll move to Boston now, because this one's honestly like pretty simple to me. And this is just like a quick conversation probably, but what the fuck is going on with Kristaps is like the big, like that's the X factor here. Like I genuinely just don't know. Like he's dealing with this like return to like conditioning from the illness that he had, and illness feels like somewhat bizarre, I guess, like insofar as we don't know a ton about it right now. And like that scares me a little bit. Like that scares me quite a bit, if I'm being honest, in terms of just what does this mean? Like what does this mean for how much he's going to be able to play? It feels less predictable to me than, okay, he has like a, you know, whatever that ankle injury, the weird ankle injury he had last year was, right? Like we can figure out what that is. We can figure out if he can play 10 minutes a night. Like this just feels a lot more up in the air, and I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, it's really weird because, you know, like I remember, I don't know who they were playing, and, you know, listening to the broadcast, like he was talking about it being the most sick he's ever been in his life, and, you know, not knowing exactly what it was. And then, you know, he comes back and he plays 3 games on the 15th, the 18th, the 21st, and then he misses a game. I mean, it says illness on the injury report on on ESPN. You know,
I think that they're referring to it as like a conditioning based
okay
thing.
Got you. So it's not like flared back up again. All right. Well, that makes
not to my knowledge.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is like Jaylen Brown, I assume will be okay, but he's being reevaluated tomorrow on the 24th. Anytime I would read bone bruise, just knowing what I know about knee injuries, that makes me a little bit nervous, because if you had a bone bruise in your knee, that means something moved at least a little bit, unless it was just like a direct shot to it. So, I mean, I assume he'll be fine, but it is what it is with this team. If they're healthy, you feel pretty good about their chances, but between Kristaps, Al Horford, who's, you know, I'm not like an injury concern, but he's an older player and very important to this team. And I do feel like it's like those 6-7 guys you feel really good about, but how good do you feel if one is out, or, you know, gosh forbid 2 guys are out? Do they have the depth to then fill into that? And so to me, it's really the X factor is just health. Are they healthy? Because every time I watch Porzingis, Sam, I'm like, this dude is unreal. Like the distance he shoots his threes from, he's able to finish. He can ISO if you switch. He's a rim protector. I think he's underrated just in terms of like how good he is when he is on the floor.
Yeah. So since they lost that like bizarro game to the Mavericks, like back in early February, they are, I believe, 14-2 or like something like that. 14-3 maybe in this little time span, like with their only losses being that Pistons game that we talked about previously. They lost to the Cavs during that window, and they lost to the Thunder. So like literally have only lost to the best teams in the league, except for, you know, the Pistons, who are top 10 team, top 12 team in the league right now. Let's go with. But like in this run, they have beaten the Knicks twice. They have beaten Denver. They've beaten Portland twice now. They have beaten the Lakers. Like they have beaten Miami on the road. Like they've had like a pretty good little run here of beating pretty solid teams. And I'm really intrigued to see what they're able to do at full strength, if they do get to full strength with Porzingis. If they have Porzingis, it's them in Oklahoma City. Like I've been saying this throughout the year. If they are fully healthy and they are rolling, it's them in Oklahoma City totally. If they are not that, and, you know, Drew Holiday is dealing with like a little shoulder thing, and, you know, Jason Tatum has like a little minor knee thing that he's managing, and then obviously Jaylen Brown missed today because he has that bone bruise and is going to be, you know, I think reevaluated Monday or Tuesday or something, and they're going to figure it out, right? So like all of their guys are dealing with little minor things, it feels like right now. And how are they able to like kind of get through a playoff run here, which is 2 months of grueling basketball with all of these little minor things? Really, the way they're going to have to do it is they're going to have to like try and sweep through the first 2 rounds, I think. That'll give them the requisite like time off, hopefully, to be able to do that. And, you know, I would imagine that they'll be favored to sweep through the first round because that'll probably be it'll be Atlanta or Orlando. Yeah. And then the second round will be a little bit tougher. It'll probably be the Knicks. And the Knicks are at least a physical matchup for them that can cause issues.
So that's kind of interesting, right? Like, real quick, just like sidetrack there. You know, if you say an X factor, especially for the Celtics, even, do you think any of these East play-in teams can make the Cavs or the Celtics work? You know, because I don't think this is as fun a question in the West. I think we believe that at least that whoever comes out of the play-in in the West is I don't want to say like they're better teams than what's going to come out of the East. Like, do the Hawks versus the Celtics give them a run with Trey and these wings? Do the Magic with what they do defensively, and now Paolo and Franz are at least back and healthy? Do they make, do they push Cleveland? Do we think they at least make those work? You know, as you bring up it being important for the Celtics to sweep and not drag out and play more games than they should have to in a playoff run.
Yeah. So, currently they have played Orlando and Atlanta 5 times this year as of the time that we're recording, and they are 2-3 in those 5 games.
Interesting.
It's a little bit strange, right? In the first Orlando game that they lost, that was without Jason Tatum. So rule that out basically as being all that relevant. But the Hawks games have been kind of weird. If you remember, they had like that overtime game where the Hawks just like beat them, and they beat them, I believe, without either of the bigs, if I remember correctly, in that game. Because I think that was like a Luke Cornett heavy game for some reason. And let me pull up both of these. The first game here on November 12th, that was at full strength sans Porzingis. So everybody Porzingis played. And then the second game here was the Luke Cornett heavy game where they lost. So yeah, that was January 18th, and Cornett played 30 minutes. They were without either of the bigs. So interesting. Hard to say like what to think, but again, this goes back to the full strength thing to me.
Yeah.
Like this goes back to they need guys at full strength to be able to really sweep through these teams. You know what I mean? Not just like beat them, but beat them quickly so that they can like really get some rest and hopefully get some time off.
Yep, I agree.
So, okay. The next team, let's just go to the Knicks. Let's just knock out the East, because I think we're only going to talk about 3 of these East teams here. What did you have for the Knicks? Is their big X factor?
I defense, like figuring out what that looks like in a playoff setting. And, with all due respect to Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, it's not coming from them. So I guess I'll put it on the shoulders of the wings. Like, my vision for what this team is really good offensively. And they've been that. They can be really good offensively with Cat spacing the floor and Jalen Brunson running the show and, Bridges, OG, like all of that. But it was, okay, we have these weaknesses at the point and at the big man spot defensively. These wings have to be incredible. And, we've talked about Mikal Bridges with that. I think OG Anunoby has to be awesome, but I think ultimately it's that. Is it the wings? Is it Mitchell Robinson is really a savior in regards to that somehow? Do you play him with Cat? How much can you survive those minutes? So to me, it's they got to find a way to get stops in the playoffs.
Yeah, getting stops is the big X factor for them. And to me, that's, can they get Mitchell Robinson and Karl Towns on the court together and hopefully like let them build some chemistry together. before the playoffs. So far they've played 33 minutes together this season. They are a plus 24 in those minutes. Their offensive rating is a 151 in those minutes. They are just bludgeoning teams in that time. They're giving up a lot of points though. Like they've given up 126. That's why, to me, you need to be able to consistently get these guys on the court and like get them some time together and let them figure out their angles, let them figure out the way each other plays together. That synergy in playoff moments is just massive, massive, massive.
Yeah, they need it because for most of the season in general, the defense isn't good enough to like go win a title, right? And I think that's how you have to judge. Like they're all in, are they not? Like I feel like this is
totally
how we have to judge them in terms of the assets they've given up for the players they've brought in. This is the core. This is the roster. And so it's like, I believe in their offense. Like, again, I think Jalen Brunson is awesome. I think Karl-Anthony Towns has been what they wanted in terms of an offensive force and spacing the floor and all of that. And so these wings have to be good / Mitchell Robinson. And you're right. Then it's, again, we talk about rotations. Okay, so when they're on the floor together, which one of the wings do you take off? Like who sacrifices minutes if Mitchell Robinson is going to play 24 or something like I don't think he's all of a sudden going to start playing 30 minutes a night. Like I just don't think that's going to happen. But, is it Josh Hart that plays less? Are you taking Bridges? Who is it? Or, do you just give less to one of the couple, Shamet or something like that? So they got to figure that out. And then again, you talk about a team, those guys are going to play 40 minutes a night. Don't play with your food either. Like you get the Pistons in the first round, beat them in 5. Don't let Cade go crazy for 2 different games. And now you have a dog because that's 40 extra, that's 80 extra minutes if the Pistons steal 2 games in that series. And so you got to just take care of business whenever we're talking about the amount of minutes these guys have played, not all year, but then through a playoff run as well.
So I totally agree with that. And the defense thing is what's really, really important to kind of harp on here, just because if you look at them against good offenses this year, so cleaning the glass is a great tool for this, right? Like we can look at what the Knicks look like against top 10 offenses in the league this year. When teams play top 10 offenses this year, the Knicks have the 21st offensive or defensive rating in the league. They give up 120 points per 100 possessions to top 10 offenses in the league. That's what they're going to have to play against teams like Cleveland, Boston, Oklahoma City, the teams that they ostensibly want to be competing with in order to make the playoffs. And oh, by the way, another team there that could be a real problem for them is Indiana. Indiana also has an exceptionally high level offense. Milwaukee is like a little bit more hit or miss, but Indiana is the one where I look at it and I'm just like, well, this feels like a worry to me. Like this feels like a genuine concern.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think a lot of people have penciled the Knicks versus the Pistons. And I think that's still the most likely outcome in the first round. But there's a, to use your, there's a non-zero chance it could be the Pacers. It could be the Bucks or somebody like that. And the Pacers would be, a team, like you said, offensively really, really good. I feel like Halliburton is rounding into shape. I don't mean like actual shape, but like, we continue to see him play.
Oh, it's been unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah. We continue to see him play better or more like the level we expect. I shouldn't say better, but here's the thing. Either one of those 2 teams, the Pistons or the Pacers, push the pace. Like those are both teams that really get out and push the pace. And so like, that's where the Knicks are going to have to be good. Transition defense and just defending in general against, if it's Indiana, that high powered offense with them, with Halliburton, Siakam, everybody else, or like, again, I've watched Cade Cunningham like be unguardable playing against them. Like it was a single game sample, but still like they're going to have to sit down and guard. And that's not even like the next level of the Boston Celtics, Cleveland Cavaliers, and, potentially the Thunder, or even dealing with Jokic or somebody like that could come out of the West, or Luka and LeBron.
Yeah. Halliburton in his last 47 games, so that's since November 24th, 19.4 points, 9.3 assists versus 1.7 turnovers, 50, 42, 88. Tyrese has been like, if Tyrese had played like this the whole year, he would be an all NBA guy. It's just the first quarter of the year was a little bit rough for him.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the big key. And then like, figuring out their defensive assignments against high level perimeter players. Can you find a way? And Brunson obviously is their biggest X factor now. Like, what is the injury here? Can he consistently, get all the way back? It feels like they're like a week out from updating his status still. So he's not going to play at all this week, it feels like. And can he get enough time to like not be rusty when he first gets on the court again is going to be critical too.
Yep, I agree. And yeah, he's got to be healthy. Obviously, that's 100% it. I think I'm looking at OG Anunoby. And I know he can't take some of the matchups, like maybe he doesn't chase around like small little guards or whatever. I just watch games, and I think he's their best option to put on a lot of these guys.
Okay. Let's go to the West again. Do you want to talk at all about the Pacers and
I mean
Bucks? Like
my
the Bucks to me, like I'll just note the Bucks real quick. Like
sure.
To me, I know that like the first time they played that Kuzma at the 4 lineup with Giannis really was against the Warriors. What was that? Was that like early this week, late last week? I can't remember off the top of my head. Like it felt like, when was that game? Yeah, it was early last week. It was Tuesday last week. And it didn't go super well. Like I think that they really like kind of hemorrhaged points. It felt like that's their key. Like if they're going to go make a run, it's going to be having flexibility through their lineups. Like you have to continue to test this out. You have to continue to say like, okay, like we're playing, Giannis at the 5 without a center on the court. And we're playing, Kuzma at the 4 and we're going small against you. And we're going to try and beat you that way. Like you need different options. And they don't totally have them yet, I feel like.
Yeah, my quick thoughts on those two. The Bucks, it's the Kuzmas, the AJ Greens, like those guys knocking down shots, filling their roles, doing that stuff. Because I feel pretty strongly about what you're going to get from Giannis and Damian Lillard in the playoffs. Like even Brook Lopez, again, like an older player who's like, I've watched him really dominate games this year, and I've watched him struggle as well. For the Pacers, like, we just talked about him. Like Tyrese has to be all NBA Tyrese. I think he has to be the best player, the most aggressive player. And he's been closer to that throughout the, the latter part of the season. Like that is their ticket to making a Eastern Conference Finals run again, is him being all NBA level of just the hub of the offense, all of that. So I know like when you're the best player saying they're the X factor, maybe that's not the best thing, but the way he's playing gives them that chance and makes them dangerous.
Okay. With the Bucks, by the way, they've played the Kuzma Giannis lineup a little bit more over the last couple of games, and they're now a plus 18 in those minutes. Wow. So they've played 60 minutes and it's a 115.5 offensive rating and a 97 defensive rating, right? So I just wanted to note that as well, because, they played the Lakers and the Kings and they beat both of those teams. And, they started to use that lineup a little bit more. So even though it didn't go super well against the Warriors, like you have to keep going down that road to me. That's the big thing for them moving forward, is continuing to, I guess I should like throw Sims in here too, to the query, but I'm pretty sure I haven't seen that at all, just to like confirm while we're talking here. Let's see, Kuzma and Giannis alone. Yeah, 47 minutes and still plus 13 if you remove all the centers. So they'd played a little bit together. Okay. Let's go to the West. Let's talk about the Houston Rockets.
Yep.
Rockets currently the 2 seed, even with this game that, they're currently down 9 against Denver. Jamal Murray has 36. He's been great in this game. To me, it's just, what do you get from Jalen Green on a night-to-night basis? Like he has 27 tonight and he's 7 for 20 from the field and has gotten to the line a ton, but he's also 3 for 12 from the 3-point line. Like they've been trying to like integrate him a little bit more into being the lead ball handler. And during this run, again, against like really, really bad teams, he has been fantastic. It's another like great May if you just look at the numbers for Jalen, where if you remove, I think if you go basically from the Phoenix game from mid-May or mid-March onward, 29 7-4, 23 9-5, 28 6-3, 37 13 against Philly, although I again didn't love him in that game. 26 7-2 against Orlando, and then against Miami was not very good, and then against the Nuggets that I've like half been watching. I won't like make like full comment on this. It has felt like he has gotten to the line a ton, which is really good, but it's been like semi inefficient. But I'll want to like watch this game a little bit more closely before making that full statement. It's just, what do you get from Jalen Green against good teams is kind of where I'm at on it. Do you consistently get Jalen Green performing well against good teams, or is it going to be a question mark?
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. Like, who drives offense for them in the playoffs? I feel like they're going to guard because that's what Ime demands, and they have some really high-level defenders and, some lineup versatility with how they do that when they're all fully healthy. We've talked about Amin Thompson plenty, Dylan Brooks, Tari Eason. Just, okay, if you're going to put the ball in Jalen Green's hands, then can he consistently make shots at an efficient level and make decisions? If you're going to put it in Fred's hands because he's the vet, his efficiency is under 40% from the field. The 3-point percentage is up to 35% now. Do you put it in Şengün's hands, who's struggled to make shots at times? So, like, what does it look like for them on the offensive end in the playoffs, especially in the half court? And so that would be my thing for them. If they really make a push and not just like winning a first round series against the Clippers or the Wolves or the Kings or something, if you win that and then you're going to go beat, what would that be? Like the Nuggets in the second round based off the standings right now, that's not always the best defensive team. So maybe you have a chance to really get it going. But that's been my question, is who's the driving force of offense, and can they consistently make shots, make the right decisions?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And by the way, like this Nuggets game, and it's a 7-point game as we talk. Like this game was without Jokic too. And like they're losing at home. I haven't mentioned that yet, but DeAndre Jordan's played 34 minutes tonight, and the Nuggets are
DeAndre Jordan
winning by 7, and they're winning his minutes by 7. So that feels semi concerning. But again, I've only been like half watching. I'm not going to sit here and tell you otherwise. Against top 10 point differential teams this year, Jalen Green has a 48.5 effective field goal percentage, which is in the 31st percentile of all players in the league. He is a 14th percentile 2-point percentage and a 17th percentile 3-point percentage against top 10 teams in the league this year. And that is according to Cleaning the Glass. So just consistency from Jalen Green is continuing to be the key for me. Şengün, he's held up defensively this year. I do want to see what it looks like in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah.
He's made a leap this year. I think that like anybody who's bringing up his defensive rating and things to like make cases that he's been some incredible defender, I think is just like completely marginalizing the impact that the perimeter defenders have, such as Fred, Dylan Brooks, obviously Amin Thompson, who we talked about ad nauseum, Tari Eason as well, in terms of like making his life easier. And that will 100% be the case in the playoffs. Those guys will still be there. But, Şengün needs to consistently continue to hold up in the playoffs when teams are going to relentlessly attack him and try to get him into space. That will be interesting to me.
Yeah, and like my thing is, for me, the Rockets are a little bit different than like even as a 2 seed, incredible season. We talked to them about like surprises, super positive things of the season. I'm not like judging them on like being title contenders in terms of, hey, this is where they absolutely should be. I'm still like in a little bit in data collection mode if I'm the Rockets in terms of, to your point, how does Alperen hold up? The defense was better this year. How does it hold up in the playoffs? Jalen Green, throughout the season. We've seen some ups and downs, some really good things, some struggles. How does it look in the play? Like, I would put the ball in his hands. Like, let's see what the ceiling is, even if it comes at a cost.
Yeah.
I want to know. Like, I would play 10 minutes a game where it's like I'm running my offense through a Min Thompson. Let's see what he can handle off. Like, here, that's the other thing. Sam, he can't shoot. How are they going to guard a Min Thompson in the playoffs? Can he attack that space and score efficiently, or does he not? Can he make the defenses pay? So they're in a really good spot organizationally, and I think it's awesome to get information on these guys in terms of where they're at and what you can do with them moving forward. And so I do judge them a little bit differently, and that's why I would be okay experimenting a little bit offensively and trying to figure it out, because I don't want to leave the playoffs like still not knowing whether Jalen Green can handle that load in the playoffs, right? I want to see it and at least have a little bit more data.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point too. And, whereas we talked about the Knicks, like their standard being in the Cavs, like their standard being like contending for a title this year, to me, like the Rockets standard is we are in data collection mode. They still have a ton of young dudes. This window is wide open still.
Yes.
And they have a crazy amount of assets to move forward and go like make a deal this summer if they want to. Let's see where this goes. You know what I mean? Like let's get all the information we can, see what we need, and then we can like maybe contend next year in a big way and not just like, be on the fringes of it this year.
So like to that, I would be frustrated if I turn on Rockets playoffs game and the offense is solely around Fred, right? Like I know I mentioned putting the ball in Fred's hands. I don't want to see that. And it's not a anti-Fred VanVleet thing. It's just like as a Rockets, if I was a Rockets fan or someone in the organization, I don't need to see that. That's not the data I want to see. Or I don't need Dylan Brooks taking 20 shots or something like that. Like I want I'm not saying they shouldn't be a part of the offense. I hope my point's being made here. I just want to see, like, I want to try to put him in these situations, put Jalen in those situations, obviously Şengün as well. I want to find out as much as possible in terms of what they are able to do, what they are capable of in a playoff scenario. Maybe they perform really well. You win a series and you get to see it for a second series against an even better opponent. Like that would be what these playoffs are for me if I'm Rockets fan or in the organization or whatever. So.
Yeah. And by the way, this game is now believe it is a 4-point game with the Nuggets going to the line with 29 seconds left. So this is all very, very fun. Yep. The Nuggets, by the way, like, let's just move to them. To me, the Nuggets, their biggest question is, I mean, like, who is going to consistently perform offensively? I think we're at the point where I trust Jamal. I know that it's real up and down. I totally get it that if you look like night to night, it is messy for Jamal. Like he had 10 points against Portland last night in a loss, or was that 2 nights ago, I guess. And he had 12 points against Minnesota back on, March 12th. But if you look at the totality of what he's done, basically over his last like significant group of 30 games here, he's averaging 24, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, shooting what is this? 51, 42, 94 over his last 30. And that includes like the bad games. So Jamal to me is like basically back. It's just that the consistency might fluctuate like up and down occasionally on a game to game basis. By the way, Jamal made one of those free throws to make it a 5-point game. He is just like a real dude that is probably going to be able to carry them for probably 5 of their 7 games in a series, right? Something like that. That's what it feels like right now. And then like, where do they get the other offense? Like Aaron Gordon's been making shots recently, and Christian Brown makes shots, basically, feels consistent to me. I don't know about you. Like, I guess that I'm kind of with Michael Malone when he says like, we want teams to leave Christian open. Like we feel like he's going to make those. I don't know. Like he's at 39% this year. And it does feel like he's going to make those, like, over his last little group of games, 2 for 3, 2 for 8, 3 for 6, 4 for 5, 3 for 5, 2 for 5, another 2 for 3 in there. Like he's made 48% of his threes over his last 11 games even. So like if they're going to leave those guys open, they might kill you.
Yeah, I mean, my thing with the Nuggets are two things. One is the defense going to ratchet up in the playoffs. And some of this is Jokic. Like I give Jokic a lot of credit when we have like the MVP conversations. I always like to bring up his hands and stuff like that, but there are some really bad possessions. There are some really bad games. Like he's going to have to ratchet it up on the defensive end, and he's taking a huge offensive load, but that's who he is. But you're going to have to get, Christian Brown's going to have to really guard, obviously. Aaron Gordon's going to have to really guard. They can't be this bad defensively in the playoffs. The second thing is, what is the rotation? Like, I like that starting five. I think there's some, synergy, chemistry there. Like, you can take Aaron Gordon out, put Russ in. I guess you could take Christian Brown out, put Russ in. But, what does it look like in the non-Jokic minutes? What do you actually play Peyton Watson in the playoffs this year? Is Julian Strawther going to get minutes? Are you just going to play those 6? Like, what does the rotation actually look like? And so to me, can Michael Malone press the right buttons in terms of Russ minutes versus non-Russ minutes, Peyton Watson, Julian Strawther? Like, can you push all of the right buttons with those guys and play them in the right moments, in the right lineups when you need them? I think that's going to be really, like, you're going to have to play Russ. I mean, he's one of their top 6 players, right? Like, I don't know that is there an argument against that? Like, I don't know that there is. And so,
no, they're definitely going to have to play Russ in the playoffs, like 100%.
And so, like, how do you manage that? Can you play him with the right lineups? Like, I feel like, just like most people, he's better playing with Jokic. So then that means who doesn't play with Jokic as much. So like, just how do you navigate all of that? I think is probably the actual biggest X factor for me.
Yeah. So the minutes with the starting 5 that you mentioned, they're a +11, which is like what you want to see from a starting 5 that's like potentially contending for a title. Like you want double digit, net rating. That's your goal here. When you take Aaron Gordon off of the court, they're a +6. So, goes down a little bit. When you take Michael Porter Jr. off, they're like a +16. When you take Christian Brown off, they're a +14, right? Pretty good, right? Like those are strong numbers and what you're hoping to see from a team that by and large, like needs those role players to step up, right? Like I think that the Peyton Watson thing is very interesting to me. Like, are they going to try and like make that work in the playoffs? Because I feel like they've wanted to, especially last year. I feel like they wanted to, and like Malone just did not trust him. It felt like to me. Is he going to have that trust? He's been on a good little run recently, by the way. Like I feel like he's played pretty well since he came back from missing that little stretch. But like, I it's one of those things where like I don't know if Malone's going to trust him until I see Malone trust him in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, but I mean, the thing though is if he doesn't trust him, who are they playing? That means you're playing the 6 we've talked about. Is he going to trust Julian Strawther, who's the same age and has all of how many minutes, like 15 minutes in the playoffs last year? Like, are they going with DeAndre Jordan? Like, is Najee going to play in the playoffs after kind of not even being in the rotation for, chunks of this season, even though it's been a little bit more recently? Like, where else is he going to go? And so that's why I think it's the biggest X factor is who does he go with? And then can those guys perform? Can he push the right buttons? I know what I think about Jokic. I'm with you. I was a little sour on Jamal Murray coming into the year and the beginning of the year. I think he's kind of figured it out. I think Christian Brown has been incredible this year. What is it after those 5? What do you get from Russ and who else do you play?
Yeah. Lakers to me. So like here's mine for the Lakers, right? Can they consistently survive having to play as hard as they have to play, like rotating around the court defensively?
Yeah.
Like that is like they fly when they're at full strength. Like they are zooming around the court, like all across the place, because a lot of the time, like they play smaller, right? And like you really have to move around to cover all of the ground necessary. It's not nearly as conservative of a defense. Can you play 4 rounds in the playoffs like that? Honestly, like when LeBron is one of your main guys and you're asking him to do that night after night after night. And then on top of it, like some of the guys that they have on the court there, like Jared Vanderbilt gives up a lot offensively. You basically have to use him as a screener or else teams just aren't going to guard him. I'm intrigued to see how they manage the big small combination of like, you know, how much do you play Jackson Hayes? How much do you go with the smaller lineup? And then can you just consistently play 2 months, really now like 3 months, because they have to, you know, get back to playing that way here leading up to the playoffs, of just like crazy high energy, high effort defensive basketball and survive when LeBron is your, you know, one of your 2 guys along with Luka now.
Okay, so to your point, do you want to guess what the Lakers were in defensive rating in the month of February?
They were first.
They were
I
first.
believe.
Sam Vecenie, do you want to guess what the Los Angeles Lakers are defensive rating in the month of March?
I would guess that they are 20th or so. I don't think it's like catastrophic, but I think it's like a little bit below average.
It is 19th. So,
Yeah.
I mean, to your point, we knew they weren't going to be able to do it for an entire regular season stretch, right? But can you do it in the playoffs? Here's the other thing is, does another team figure that out, right? Like, do they figure out the ways to take advantage of it in those? Are they better attacking at switches and mismatches and, you know, going at Luka or whoever, Dalton Connect? Like, can they attack those in a playoff series? Will be fascinating. And yeah, this was going to be mine as well. Can whatever they've implemented defensively and the schemes and all of that, does it play out better in the playoffs? Or is it something that these guys can do? Like the rest is a little bit better in the playoffs, right? Like you never play a back-to-back. And so again, and then if you don't play with your food, let's say where are they at right now? They're 4th. Let's just say they beat the Grizzlies in 5. And then you get a good stretch there, you know? But if you play 7 games against the Grizzlies with their offense and their pace, those guys are going to be worn down. And then you have a short break, and then you're right into now trying to do it to the Thunder. I think eventually that probably wears them down. So I am fascinated as well because, like, offensively with those 3 guys, with Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves, like looks like Luka can make any big man with athleticism and lob ability look really good. I think they're going to score the basketball, but can they figure it out on the defensive end, or was that kind of flash in the pan there in February?
I don't think it was flash in the pan. I feel like that's aggressive. But at the same token, I do feel like it's going to be hard to consistently do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
because flash in the pan kind of means like it was just like maybe there wasn't a whole lot of true substance to it. Like there's substance to this. It's just hard to sustain substance.
Yeah. And by the way, we're about to close down this Nuggets game. The Nuggets, like Aaron Gordon, like insanely fouled Jalen Green on a 3. And Jalen missed 2 of the 3 free throws. And then Michael Porter Jr. went down and made free throws in order to get it back up to 7. So the Nuggets are going to win this and get within a game of the 2 seed. Like that is like consistency defensively is the big question for the Lakers. Cause like, I think you and I believe that the offense is just going to be like a monster.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean,
like
I believe
it's going to be
in
hard
these
to
guys.
stop those dudes. Like LeBron is a monster and Luka is, I don't know, one of the 5 best playoff performers in league history. Like if you look at the numbers, I think he is one of the 5 best playoff performers in league history. Like he is a monster when those lights come on. So to me, it's just about the defense. Like, can they'll figure out the offense. It's going to be fine. The defense is where it's going to be. Like, can you consistently play the way they have to play and make it work?
Yeah, so Luka's career playoff numbers in 50 games is 31 points, 9.5 rebounds, 8 assists on 46, 35, 72. Pretty
Good basketball player.
good basketball player.
That's my take. Very good basketball player. I think I want to go to the Warriors. I'm sorry to Memphis fans. Like, I think the Warriors are who I want to talk about. What did you have for them? Because that feels like it's like Steph's hip is obviously the thing. Like, if he is not 100%, like 1,000%, they can't win the title. Like, they can't be in the mix really even. If he is at 100% though, what do you think it is?
Yeah, I mean, I think the X factors then become the Pods, the Moody's, the Gary Payton II, like those guys. Because if Steph's healthy, I think I know what Steph can bring you. Jimmy Butler, I think we have seen like the proof there, the proof of concept in terms of how he can play off of Steph, how he can play with Steph, how he can then play in the non-Steph minutes, including something we brought up when the trade happened was increasing their free throw attempts, which was something they did not get a lot of. And then I think, Draymond kind of anchoring the defense and all of that. So I believe in those three guys, especially in the playoffs. What does Jonathan Kuminga bring in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Pods has played better since returning to the lineup. Can he do it in the playoffs? Moody's getting his chance. Can he knock down shots and provide some defense? Is it the Quentin Post, Trace Jackson Davis, Kevon Looney center rotation? Like, do you press the right buttons and get what you need there? So to me, it would come down to those guys in the role positions that we haven't seen any of those guys, like Looney, obviously, but we haven't seen those guys prove it in those roles. Can they do that? Like, that's what it would come down to for me.
Yeah. So two things for me with the Warriors. I'm glad you brought up the kids. Like, that's the big one, right? Like your Moody's, your Kumingas, your Podses. Pods has basically been really good since he came back from that abdominal injury. 14 points, 5.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, shooting 46, 38, 77. I feel like Moses Moody has been like a really nice addition into that like little starting group that they have now working with Jimmy Butler, right? So, in this run, since Moody has basically been in the lineup, they are 16-5. He's averaging 12 points, 3.4 rebounds, 1.7 assists, doesn't turn the ball over, shooting 44, 36, 91. And like, he's a long defender and he's not like a great defender, but he's a physical defender, right? So I think that really works. Kuminga, I just have no idea what to do with. Like, still, I mean, like we'll see what this is, obviously. Like, he is still just getting back here over these last few weeks. And like, he's scored in double figures every single game he's played since he's been back, which is great. But, what does this look like? Overall is going to be interesting because he's also shooting 43, 14, 76 in that time. So we'll see. And like, what lineups work with him is a question. The second thing for me is just what they do on the interior, right? Because I really like Quentin Post. Like, you and I think this show was the biggest Quentin Post hive people pre-draft of anybody. We spent an inordinate, frankly, probably too much time talking about Quentin Post pre-draft last year because he's a big that could shoot off of like real movement, and we were excited. I don't feel great about Quentin Post on defense in the playoffs. I'm just going to say that.
Completely fair.
Yeah, like that feels like a difficult thing. So they're basically going to have to go small, would be my guess. Maybe you go with some Looney like consistently in the playoffs, but my guess is that it's probably going to have to be pretty small. And Looney has been like intermittently in the lineup, basically, since they've made this move. Like, if you look at his last few games, it's 5 minutes against Atlanta, 9 minutes against Toronto, 6 minutes against Milwaukee, 15 against Denver, having to deal with the Jokic matchup, but then 6 minutes against New York, right? So it's hit or miss. But what I like about them is that they do at least have some answer there that Kerr trusts with Looney, and they have the ability to go small, and Jimmy is comfortable guarding up the lineup at least. And I mean, like, I don't know if you've been paying attention to like what Draymond has done defensively in this last little run. I mean, he is like, I know Draymond Green just made that statement about being like, oh, like I am, I should win defensive player of the year or whatever. I genuinely think he's been the best defensive player in the league since basically like the Wemby injury. It almost feels like he felt like there was a chance to win defensive player of the year with Wemby being out and decided, oh no, I'm going to go do this. Like, I'm really going to do this. He would definitely be on an all defense for team for me, at least right now. I don't know if he would be first team or second team, but he's definitely a top. He has been the best defender in the league since like the All-Star break, I would argue.
He also has to hit the game threshold. I don't think either of us put him on it recently, on the most recent one.
Yeah, because I think we thought he wasn't going to hit the game threshold.
We used like 51 games or something like that, and he had played 52. The other thing is, this will get real interesting. He has a few games; those may be exhibition games. I thought there was a couple games in here where he didn't quite hit 20 minutes, but that's not this episode. It is something to look out for with him in terms of like his eligibility for defensive player of the year / all defense. And anybody who wants to say, well, you guys didn't even have him on, that was why. Like it didn't look like
it was the game's threshold.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Over his last 20 games, 2.2 steals and 1.2 blocks per game. And just like manning the five and consistently like playing exceptionally well. So he has, let's see here. Let's look at the minute loads. He has a couple of games of 19 minutes, which will count, and that will be fine. He can get to 63 there and be okay.
But
like 60. But he has a three minute game in here too against Washington. So he has to get to 66, and they have how many games left? They have 11 games left. So he has to play 9 of their 11 games.
Yeah. Which is definitely it's definitely possible. It's just like that's one rolled ankle, like not even a severe rolled ankle, but just like a week's worth of a rolled ankle, and now you're not even eligible anymore. So it's something to look out for with him. It's funny, you find yourself tracking these things now. Like Cade, who I've been screaming is definitely all NBA, finally played his 65th game the other day. I was like, okay, like now I don't have to knock on wood every single time I say it to make sure he's, so Draymond's going to be right there with this. But you're right, he's been incredible defensively.
Well, like the annoying one is Isaiah Stewart. Like Isaiah Stewart is not going to be eligible, which is like just like a bad ruling, frankly, by the NBA in terms of how to manage those things. Jaren Jackson, I think, is now within 2 games, if I remember correctly.
He was another one I was wondering how close we were getting with him.
Yeah, he has 2 games left. Like he's gonna sail past it and be okay. Look, like it's now like a real race for defensive player of the year to me.
Oh, it's going to be way more fun. Like the Wemby injury and health stuff sucks, and hopefully he's doing well, but it made that whole conversation, because here's what it did also. I don't agree with this, but it opened up people to the Dyson Daniels argument, which again, I don't necessarily agree with.
I don't agree with, but I get it.
For DPOY, I don't agree with. Maybe first team all defense, but with Victor gone, now it's like Jaren versus Mobley. Now Draymond's back in it. People who want to look at that disruption of Daniels gives them an opportunity to get in there with that. So it's made it a more fun conversation, if nothing else.
That I agree with. It's made it a more fun conversation. Real quick, we'll buzz through Memphis and Minnesota and the Clippers, frankly. I mean, Memphis, I don't know what you had for Memphis. Like that the whole thing just feels like an X factor to me in the playoffs for them.
Who's going to be their primary offensive option in the playoffs, Sam? Can you
It'll be Ja. I think it'll be Ja.
I think it will as well, but I've just watched so many games where it's been Jaren, and then it was Bane, and then it was like, I'm sure they'll figure it out because they've played together so much. It's interesting. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you're relying on 2 rookies a lot as well. And we've mentioned this multiple times, including Jalen Wells to be your primary perimeter defender. I know Vince Williams is back now. It'll be interesting.
It'll be very interesting to see how they manage this situation. They just have a lot they have to figure out to me. Minnesota, I mean, like, I'll say this about Minnesota. We had a lot of questions about Julius Randle. And I still have some questions about how this will work in the playoffs with Julius Randle in terms of like teams just collapsing the paint and saying, Ant, go beat us from 3, etc. Since Julius Randle has been back, they are 9-2. He's averaging 18, 6 and 6, and shooting 53, 37, 79, and has been like quite good. It feels like when I watch their games. I want to give him some love. Like, we had some real questions when he was playing earlier in the year before this injury, and I feel like he has been much better since returning, and I really like the way that they're playing with him right now. Now, is that enough for them to like get the 6th seed and, you know, potentially become like a playoff threat? I'm skeptical, but like that X factor, which it is to me, like that is their biggest X factor, along with whatever they can get from Mike Conley, whatever they can get from some of their bench guys. Like, how they manage the front court is key, and I think that Randle has at least made it a good problem to have now, as opposed to a bad problem to have, which is what it was earlier in the year.
Yeah, give him his kudos, because like whenever he was out and Naz Reid was playing, I was like, did they just bring Julius Randle off the bench and keep this thing the same and go from there? I don't think that was ever actual option for the organization. I'll go somewhere a little different. I think Anthony Edwards' decision-making is an X factor in the playoffs. Like, can you be the best player and not, I'll say this, his two-way impact, and that includes being really, really good defensively as well. Because I've kind of said multiple times, I think he could be one of the better, especially point of attack defenders in the league when he's really locked in. And so, like, okay, during a regular season, I understand if we only see it sporadically. I want to see it locked in the playoffs. And then on the offensive end, when they continuously put 2 on you, can you consistently make the right decision? Whether that sometimes it is to attack the second defender and go get a bucket, but sometimes it's throw Julius Randle the ball and let him make the decision or whatever. So to me, that's if we're talking about the ceiling of them being like a contender, making some noise, it's Anthony Edwards being the best two-way player in those series, and he has the potential to do it. He is that level of talent, so it's him playing at that level on both ends of the floor.
I think that's a good way to end it. By the way, since we've been recording, have you seen what happened in Maryland, Colorado State?
I haven't watched it. I've just seen like the tweets and stuff like that. So yeah,
it's glorious. Look, like, we didn't talk about Derik Queen earlier, in part because he hadn't played this game yet. But like, the thing about Derik Queen and why he was always going to be successful in March is that every single time that guy has been put in front of like NBA scouts or like at a big camp or, you know, in this spot here in Maryland, he has lived up to it and he has stood out from the crowd and he has been a monster. He just drilled like a fading bank, mid-range shot to beat Colorado State after Nick Clifford hit like a cross wing, I guess, kick out to Jalen Lake in order to take the lead. Derik Queen is just a guy that is always going to perform when the lights are on. It's his personality. It's his mentality. It's who he is. He's a stud. Like, that guy is the lights don't exist for him. Forget them being too bright. They aren't even there for him. Like, he's just alone in the gym with these 9 other guys on the court. And there's like every single time he's been at one of these big spots, he just performs. And that's the reality. And that's why I knew that, like, coming into this tournament, like, that guy is just going to be good. I don't know if Maryland's going to beat Colorado State, going to beat Memphis, you know, whatever, beat Grand Canyon, but I knew he would perform because that's what he does. He always does it.
That was a really fun, like, he's going to his left, has to hang in the air, just really skilled. Like, we know how skilled he is. I love it. The post-game interview, where does the confidence come from? He said, I'm from Baltimore. Love it.
Yeah.
Incredible stuff.
Who he is. It's absolutely who he is.
Yeah, and we talked about like minute starts earlier and how like the heart rate never goes above whatever. I feel like like Derik Queen never looks like he's
Yeah.
like I'm not saying this in a negative, like never looks like he's sweating or like you mentioned the moment's too big or he's like it's the same all the way through. So insanely skilled.
And I'll say this too, like, you know, I had this game on like sort of in the background while we were doing the show, and he was not good defensively in this game. Like that's a real factor.
Yep.
It does not matter now because he made that shot. Like they ended up having to go to a zone. Honestly, I thought that he was not active enough on the shot that Jalen Lake made in order to get Colorado State the lead, to put him in this situation to make this shot at the end. But I just totally buy into that dude. Like on offense, he's going to be productive in the NBA. So like, you know, that is a lottery pick to me, even with the defensive deficiencies. It's not a lottery pick for everybody. Like, I don't think Houston could take him because I just frankly do not think Ime Udoka will play him. And that's often an underrated part of like draft picks, right? Will the coach that you're drafting the player to be willing to play said player? Like you have to self-scout in that regard.
Will Doc Rivers play AJ? No, like we knew AJ wasn't.
No, seriously, like that's a real thing. Will Doc Rivers play AJ Johnson? Absolutely the fuck not. So don't take him.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, I was slow and have been with Derik Queen, but the more I watch, it's like the skill level is like he's gonna figure it out offensively. The skill level is too good. So
yeah, no, I completely agree. Okay. By the way, like the other tournament games here, while we're closing up, Mississippi is going to beat Iowa State. Momcilovic basically shot them out of that game. New Mexico is up 2 on Michigan State at half.
Interesting.
And then Arizona is down 11 early to Oregon. So we might be getting our last Carter Bryant and Henry Vasar looks here.
Yeah, interesting. Also, Iowa State missing one of their better players throughout the tournament too, in Keyshawn Gilbert. Yeah, for sure. That's absolutely like Iowa State was an obvious fade going into this tournament just because they were without Gilbert, unfortunately. Okay, Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on. Andrew's not around, so we're not doing trivia today. Perfect. At Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky, motorcityhoops.substack.com, Pistons Pulse podcast, and right here, Game Theory podcast with Sam Vecenie.
Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. I did a mock draft last week. I think I have transfer stuff coming up this week because
portal's opening.
Portal opens tomorrow. I have a list of names here that have hit the portal. Bryce Hopkins, Josh Dix, Tucker DeVries, Josan Sinan, portaling apparently. Nick Davidson, DeDon Thomas. You got Owen Freeman. You know, shout out Elijah Freeman as well. Yep. D2 Lincoln D2. Memorial.
Yep.
Interesting player. So very interested to see how much tape I have to watch this week on portal, guys.
I mean,
oh boy.
Portal scouting is way worse than NBA draft scouting. Like the portal scouting is impossible.
I was talking about this with an agent earlier this weekend about just like how much of a time suck the portal has become for everybody in basketball. It's a lot.
Yes, it's a lot. It's something. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. Subscribe to the show. Go to Game Theory Podcast with Sam Vecenie. We have this little button here. You can just go below the link if you're watching on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. We really appreciate you guys hanging out. If you're listening over on YouTube, go to the YouTube channel. Or if you're listening on Spotify, you know, Apple, whatever podcasting platform you use, we love you. Thank you for listening, obviously. Go to the YouTube channel. You get to see Bryce and I talk every week, twice a week at least. And that's what we got. Until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.